So, very good afternoon to everyone. And first of all, a warm welcome to all. And we are delighted to have you all here. So, in today's webinar, we will be focusing more upon how we can bring our designs to reality using the Twinmotion solutions. So, little bit about myself. So, I am a architect Anurag, and here at Cap Arkans, I am like for the solution consultant for the architecture. So here is little bit about our organization. So previously we were serving as in Capricorn as a leading design consultation technology solution provider for AEC industry. And now we have been formulated into an Arkans group where our key focus is more upon the integrated solution part on the AEC industry. So the today's agenda will be like we will be looking with the Twinmotion as a guide. What is Twinmotion and what its capabilities are, and then we will be moving on to the live demo where we will be looking at what are the new additions onto the latest versions of Twinmotion, that is 2023.23 version of it. Then we are going to look on to the integrated parts solutions for the Twinmotions, where we will be having or we will be coordinating with various other solutions together in a bundle, and we will be seeing how workflows goes with that. Third, there is an addition to library assets which are within the Twinmotion cloud that we don't need to download on to our systems, but we do have a excess amount of library, I would say. And then on the fourth point, we will be looking how to set up our environments and as well as how we can utilize the scattering tool that are present onto the Twinmotion part. Fifth is a very useful part, which is like the path tracer, which gives us the actual lightning impact onto the ground, I would say. And it gives us the correct reflections and refractions onto the surface, which makes our experience more enhancing. And at the same time, it gives us a visual appearance how our project would be, or we can determine and analyze our projects at the same time. Finally, we are going to look at the outcomes in the forms of render and presentations as well as videos, which Twinmotion is capable of or it's mostly used for. And at the end, we would be dealing with certain videos where we would be looking at how we can move with the cloud aspect of Twinmotion, where we don't need to store our data onto these systems, but we can upload them directly for the various customers to represent them onto the cloud directly. So coming back to the part of Twinmotion, so I would say Twinmotion is basically a visualization tool which gives us an enhancing feel, and it tells about a storytelling to a customer at a real-time experience within our intuitive workflows. So that actually gives us an idea how the project is getting started and how a designer, from a designer's point of perspective, how a designer is thinking of his project. And as well as this makes this brings us to a most important part, like how we can explain it to our customers for the better part of visualization. So it gives us a real enhancing feel, as well as it tells us how and product what would be a product outcome at its end. So in short, I would say the Twinmotion is a visualization tool, which makes you to visualize in a better aspects within a real-time estimations to it. So likewise, if you can set your own locations, so the entire lightning portion will be taken according to that particular location itself. So you can visualize it with respect to the various sun locations moving from the east towards the west onto a particular day and a particular time periods of it. Coming back to the part, like Twinmotion is now being included onto the part of AEC collections, where you can see onto the part of AEC collection, which is architectural engineering and construction. We have the four uh, phases of it, like design, simulation, visualization, and coordination. So we have all these solutions together embedded onto the AC collection part of it, whereas Twinmotion was earlier not a part of it. Now it has been included within our AC collection itself. So the one who is purchasing for the he's going for the AC collections, Now Twinmotion will be available to him as a part of AEC collection. Uh, Coming back to what this new interface has, so it is quite an easier user interface experience to an users, as well as you can control the things in a minimal way, like you have the four of the keys options like W, E, A, and Z, where we scroll them onto our interfaces and we can navigate accordingly. And so it's very useful with the certain sets of assets in a form of libraries, as well as we have the particular layers bounded to it as a base ground, ambience, and other factors like view sets and all. So eventually, whatsoever we do onto the Twinmotion interface will be in the form of layers depicted on to the right hand side of your user interface screens. Similarly, we do have certain other uh, factors like we have the path tracer to it. We have the further location of lines in the form of path alignments, where we can generate where we can quickly generate our environment or surroundings on the basis of trees or any of the landscaping features that is available to us onto the Twinmotion. Now, talking about the latest version of it, like as I have already said, we have a library, but usually this library was in predefined format. But now in the case of libraries, we do have meta scans and Sketchfab libraries, which are particularly the cloud-based libraries with more than 7,000 libraries in different categories aligned to a particular system. So Mega Scans is also same sort of library, whereas Sketchfab is also onto the different domains. So this is quite useful what I found onto the newer versions, that we have a lot of libraries to access for. So we don't need to customize certain things according to our needs. Or if we need to customize as well, it would require a minimum amount of time for us to move on with the libraries and its assets. Similarly, as I said, we do have the tools to populate the environment in the form of populations or either in the form of human figures, whatsoever you need to populate it onto a particular area, that can be done. Coming back to the part of lightning material effects, so we do have an Adobe substance material, which is basically an PBR material. So as a image is having 7 to 8 different textures to it. Just for an instance, there is a normal map, then there is an ambient map. Similarly, there is an height map to it. So there are a total PBR material consists of the libraries which are within the particular textures of maps, I would say. So with the site of PBR, you can easily access this free available site where the PBR materials are freely available, as well as we have Adobe Substance Material embedded as a predefined library onto Twinmotion, where we can generally use those PBR sort of substances in the defined way as we need. So other alterations which has been made onto the Twinmotion is with respect to daytime and its lightning, where we can embed the seasonal changes like weather, and we can have the wetness value set to that. So earlier, this particularly feature of wetness value was not available, where the things onto the environment becomes quite artificial. But now they have provided this with the wetness factor to it, where it makes us more visual in form of experience to us. So coming back to the other advantage of using Twinmotion as a part is like it can be used as an integrated workflow system within the system. So any of the various solutions that we have talked in the previous can be integrated directly with the Twinmotion. So earlier, only the Revit was having a direct synchronization with it, but now we have the number of plugins available with respect to SolidWorks and other Navisworks as well, so other various solutions to it. So coming back to the part of just as a Revit capabilities of workflow, so we do have this Data Smith plugin, which we have to install it before we can to have a direct linking synchronized between the Twinmotion surface and the Revit user interface. So which captures real scan pictures from Revit software directly onto Twinmotion. Even if we alter certain changes onto our Revit portion, that will automatically be get synced with the uh, Twinmotion part of it. So we don't need to have changes like if I am having certain materials and I forgot to apply certain materials onto my screens or my project, then I have to go back onto the particular system. I have to apply that material, then bring it onto the Twinmotion. But the actual workflow nowadays doesn't work like that. So it has been more simplified in terms of syncing. So whatsoever changes I would be doing onto the Revit part of it will be automatically accommodated through a live sort of syncing onto Revit part. Coming back to what it actually gives or what it is used for is basically for the realistic photo rendering part and giving a presentation in form of videos, I would say. So we do have a Twinmotion cloud to share our projects directly, whether a pre-rendered or panoramas image. Coming back to the part of panorama images, so these are like 360-degree angled images of views, I would say, rather than 360-degree views of a single image, I would say. So in that context, we can develop those panorama images accordingly, and we can share them in the form of presentations to our clients. So this is like the Twinmotion 2023.2, and where we have the certain newer additions. As I said, we have a window, media preview window, import Adobe substances, and we can customize them according to our maps as well. Then we have an illumination factor like global illuminations, which helps with the path tracer to depict whether the reflections within our views are going correct or not. So we can also import the animated FBX and GITF files, which are like slightly animated sort of uh, file formats. But we won't be going to that deep into this, and we would be looking at the general aspects of it. What are the newer modifications and how to utilize them onto our projects? As I said, there is like path tracer improvement, glass optimizations. Now you have an feature of local exposure available. You have number of families as in a form of libraries as a component available to you with different sort of platforms available, and which also saves our data not to store them onto the systems. Which and there are also the wetness factor that has been as a part of visual improvements to make our image or these scenarios much more determined and well experienced. So as simple like for the Twinmotion Revit, Epic ID is not required. Only if you have the AEC collection with you, that will automatically get synced with your particular software ID installed, and you can have that registered directly onto the Twinmotion portal, and you can access the particular Twinmotion software there. The only thing to remember is they have advanced it with the datasmith. Unless we don't have a datasmith exporter installed onto Revit, we cannot establish a direct link between initial software and the finalized software like Revit to Twinmotion. So for this, we have to be sure like datasmith exporter is being installed. Then only we can have a direct link between two of the applications together. So we'll be talking on to the outcomes later on, but would be taking you directly onto the live demo now, where the first part of it, we would be looking at how to have a correct integrated workflow to work with, and how is this being established or how these two applications links together as a direct way of linking. So we'll be So that's the Revit interface I have, and I would be moving on to its 3D part of it. So whensoever we want to move on to, or we have to integrate certain other format files, like this also has a capability of working with formats. So if I am working particularly onto the conceptual mass model of it, so I have prepared that onto my format, and then I will be linking that format model directly to my Revit. Then from Revit, if I need to take that model for the visualization, I will connect from the Revit itself directly to the Twinmotion. So I'm moving with the 3D aspect of it. It says to launch out the format part of it. So as soon as my model is getting launched, so this is the entire model. I would be copying it and will be pasting it onto my format model. So that's the format model itself. And now you can see there has been other linked model which has been linked with the Revit part. So as soon as I linked my Revit to a mass model, it has been linked with format with a new file of it. So if you need a location or topography, that can also be enabled. Likewise, there are layers to it and you can enable them. For an instance, I'm not taking it, and I will just be pasting that entire model over here to have a direct linking between my format model and the Revit. So this is what the format model is, and this is like a penthouse sort of project. So you can see on to the right hand top, we have this icon for moving this particular project onto Revit. So I can directly link this. So it says me to save the project. So, okay. And now the format objects were sent to project one model into the Revit. We'll wait for a while and then we'll go on to the Revit portion. So this model will get linked at that particular part. So that's the project, and that has been linked particularly onto our Revit. So we can have certain other aspects to it. I'm not going to that deep right now, just to know how the workflows matters and how we need to switch on and work between the integrated part of solutions together. So moving on to the 3D aspect of it, you can see we have this Twinmotion, but this part is earlier. How we used to work is like if I have made my conceptual model onto my format, then I can bring it onto Revit for the detailed designing. Then if I need to visualize it at the same part of time, I can move my Revit model onto Twinmotion and I can visualize the entire project onto Twinmotion. As soon as I make the changes onto the Revit part detailing, so it automatically gets synced with a Twinmotion model. So here right now they have made certain changes or updated somehow. So it is not acting as an element wise, but it acts as a block wise, right? So not an issue to that. So I have view option where I will be linking this direct model onto my Twinmotion. I will open the Twinmotion. And then I will be establishing a direct link between those two models. So this is the part of direct linking where I have to import my files together, and I will simply say import. So now you can see I do have my model onto my Twinmotion interface. So taking back to the format part of it. So just for an instance, if I have made certain changes, I have imparted some of the libraries onto my Revit software, and then I have the option under review directly to. So if I have to make changes, first I will make changes onto my format model. Similarly, I will send this using this icon. I will send this entire model onto Revit, and then over there, I will be working on the detailed designing, like if I need to impart staircases around, or if I need to develop certain surrounding within the Revit software, I will be doing that onto Revit. And then similarly, under the Twinmotion, we have an option for auto sync. So whenever I will be initiating this process, so it will automatically be synced with my Twinmotion. So that's how the first part we have covered is like for with respect to our visualization and the integrated workflows part of it. So this is how we are onto our model, and here we can have a number of experiences like whatsoever we are looking for. Uh, just for an instance, I would show you how the path tracer works, which is a which is quite an important feature in terms of depicting light and all. I will use all this. And, yeah. So if I need to visualize it with respect to this particular scenario, there is an option over here for the part tracing. And as soon as I do the part tracing, you can see uh, it gives us the real part of reflections and refractions within a frame. And this has been yet processing. So this depends on your graphic user interface, I would say. So better the quality, uh, better you can work within the system. This takes a bit of time so that the perfect reflections and refractions with respect to a space arises over there. Now we can at any point of time, if I just move, so you can see how the sun has an impact onto our buildings at a particular period of time. If we set down the locations at the particular time intervals. But here, as in nominal, you can see how the light is scattering within a space and whether an architect can visualize whether this, with respect to this particular time frame or the time period, is this a good part to use glasses at the exterior facades or not. So likewise, you can analyze on the basis of architectural aspects as well, and you can look it forward with respect to the visualization part of it as well. So you are getting two of the basic things with analyzations and your visualizations to show it to a customer how a particular space is getting impacted with respect to the sun or any other surrounding context of it. So if I just scroll it down, till now I haven't closed my part tracer. So whatsoever I would be navigating it to, it will take me directly onto that particular portion. So now if I move on to any further portions, this is the second part of building. And now here I can visualize the particular scenario with respect to light. So the part of path tracer basically deals with your coming reflections and refractions of it. And then you can, if you need this particular image to be exported, then you can move on to media, save this image and can export them on the form of render images. I will just close this as a part. Right. And now I can navigate. So now I have been navigated out of my path tracer part. So this is how the path tracer enhances visualizations as well as it gives us the more in-depth details of impact that the objects or the surroundings would have onto our spaces. Now we would be looking at certain new additions that has been added onto 2023.2 version of it. So you can see on to the left hand side, I have this home icon. As soon as I move on to home icons, we were not having the access to these plugins earlier. And now we do have an access to these parts where we have a direct integration of various softwares together with Twinmotion. So it has 3ds Max, which is also a part of visualization. We have it with ArchiCAD, we have with Rhino, Navisworks, SketchUp Pro, and the SolidWorks. So so it has been like quite good integrated and whatsoever like we are working on the live modeling phase of onto our user interfaces, we can link them directly on using these solutions as well onto the Twinmotion using the plugins that has been provided with Twinmotion. So you can access those plugins directly from here, or you can move on to their website Twinmotion and you can install these plugins directly from there. So this is one of the latest features where it was not available with respect to these many solutions earlier, but it was having a great connectivity only with that. Now we have n number of solutions which can also be live synced or integrated with Twinmotion using these plugins. Second part of it is like if I just move on to the populate option. So under the previous part of it, if I need to populate certain things, what it does was it takes out the particular texture feature and it implants those things particularly onto that particular space. But now we do have an option for having a specified area for the specific sort of scattering tool. So if I move on to foliage and under the library, I would be moving on to any of the trees. So under the paint option, I will be having two of my trees and then I will be moving on to certain graphics. And now earlier we don't have this diameter option where you can see we have a confined area according to diameter in which I need to place those objects. This was missing, as well as the density to this particular area can be enhanced or enriched. If I just select down the particular object, you can see the density I need to vary can also be enhanced. So this was not available in previous versions of Twinmotion, whereas they have given this accessibility onto the newer version of it. So if I just need to have this particular grasses onto particular diameter, say this much of area, I can do that. I can set it. Similarly, with respect to the, if I need a more denser area, I can set it accordingly. I can scatter those trees accordingly. So now I can do that at a particular confined space in which I need according to my workspace. So you can see if I just escape out of it and let me have pedestrian mode, which was not early available. Now it has been available with pedestrian mode. So it takes me to a human eye level perspective. And from here you can navigate to the part and you can see how all the quality and level detailing that is in the previous. So these are two of the basic enhancements that have been made. One more that is more important is in form of like wetness, which I was saying. So if I just navigate this particular view, I would be moving back to the drone mode and we'll be having the ambient 10,000. So this is like the morning view to it, and this is quite okay for me right now. So now what I would be doing is I would be enhancing it weather like height. So now you can see we have this wetness factor involved with respect to our seasonal variations that we have made here. So this is quite not up to the mark, I would say. But now we have the details out of it, like we do have this surface effects where we have the properties for wetness. So you can see how does this has an impact. So now you can see how whenever I have converted in particularly onto the full mode wetness, now it actually reflects and reflects back according to the surface properties. So even you can make certain changes with respect to offset X and Y. You can see how this goes. So you can enhance them accordingly. Whensoever with the detailings you need to see, you can even see the droplets that has been pointed out onto the surface likewise. So you can see the level of detailing and the exact sort of texturing it gives with respect to the surface. So this I found it to be quite useful for making scenarios much more impactful in terms of seasonal variation. So this is like for the wetness. And we have a small enhancement in terms of camera as well as where we were not able to focus earlier with respect to the particular thing. Now we can have this chromatic abbreviations with us where we can blur the certain portion and we can focus upon the certain other portions of it directly. So it's like a focus based tool, making certain parts as blur and making certain parts that needs to be focused as a focus part of it. So these are the nominal enhancements that has been incorporated with respect to the latest version of it. Now we will be going to look at more important part of it is like which Twinmotion is actually used for is like for the render part of it and the visualization part of it in forms of videos. So I would be shifting on to a other project. Now you can see I have developed this part earlier onto the same sort of project, but with a nice view as a certain resort or something like that. I will take you through a walkthrough on this. Even though if you need certain things like in terms of surroundings like birds chirping or if you need something as in forms of thunder, those can be part of our Access library. So we do have this library tools which I was talking on the part of Mega Scans and Sketchfab. So this is within our library. So as soon as I switch on to these parts, it has 3D plants, decals, surfaces, and assets. So assets are being divided into the categories. Decals is something that is being a part of again PBR materials or even a picturized form in form of picturization in 2D aspect of it, where we can apply particular texture or a height image onto the map itself and we can develop them onto the 3D part of it. Otherwise, if I just move on to decals, so you can see it is more of certain image sort of things you can see, particular textures with respect to its images itself. So the part to it is like if I move on to this, you can see the download option under this part is inactive. So it says to sign in to the Epic account. So whenever this sort of thing arises, you just need to have yourself log in with respect to this, your login credentials. So now it says the authentication procedure has been completed successfully. And now the gray out icon would be no longer there. Now they are more of downloadable types. So whatsoever if I download, that won't be downloadable onto my system in form of images, but it will be directly, so this has been linked directly to the Twinmotion cloud or particular libraries which has been linked to the cloud itself. So we can download them particularly from here and we can apply them. So if I just choose this for instance, and I need to apply it for the very first time, it asks for the authentication creation. And now it has been created with respect to this. So, so in this way, we can use the other libraries as well as. So same with the Mega Scan libraries and same with respect to the Sketchfab libraries where we have certain predefined models and under architecture and furthermore categories that has been defined and we can utilize them according to our workflow. So all those things are within the cloud and whensoever they are being graded out, you just need to log in with your credentials. Whatsoever will be as a part of free library will be accessible to us uh, in the form of libraries and objects. So what it does, what it is doing basically is whatsoever we have to customize, it's saving our customization time onto the libraries and components, as well as gives us a much more uh, precise way of detailing in terms of details, right? So if I need to capture certain area with respect to my rendering, so I can set the particular camera actions accordingly. I can set a particular view around and I can make a quick render out of it, how this space is going to be done. If I need to have render with respect to this, so I can move on to media and I just need to have this plus icon within the image to be added. And that's an image which is being captured now. And either to export this image particularly, we have to move on to export command. And under the image, we have this image which needs to be rendered. And now it has been selected and we have to start it. But ask for the path, so I can locate it here likewise. So now the entire rendering. So I will show you some of the key renders that I have been portrayed before. It will take a little bit of time. Wait for it. It will be moving directly onto the outcomes where I will showcase the final outcomes of this particular circuit. Just showing too much of it. It won't be taking that. Uh, that is just skip onto the outcomes part of it. And you can see these are the outcome qualities. Within few seconds, it has been rendered within 2K quality of it. So these are just for the same view, it has been like a 2 point perspective view to it. Then we have much more with respect to the elevations on this particular image. And you can see the enhancing ambience with this particular framework within source onto this image. So within 2 to 3 seconds of it, it gives us a better visualized render quality within 2K and 4K. So these are the outcomes of it, as well as I would be focusing on to a video which I have prepared. So this is how we can export down the entire video format. We can share it with our clients and we can analyze it with respect to the certain elements as well, and as well as it gives us the appealation, like how we can work onto our project and where we can update. So we have all together, we have the integrated workflows together where in syncing it saves our time and can update our model within the seconds. So in this way, we can link entire project phases together and can make our work much more easier in terms of working in an integrated system, integrated part. And that's the last part of it that I would be covering. It would be in a form of video, which is like for serving with respect to the Twinmotion cloud. Yeah, so this is how we can move with the Twinmotion cloud, and it saves our time as well as it helps us to represent onto the web cloud-based platform itself. So this is from my side. Thank you so much, and we are open to Q&A session right now. Pradeep sir was asking regarding the time-lapse progression with respect to the building structure. So, sir, particularly with respect to Twinmotion, that can't be done, but in form of visualization, as we have discussed, like with respect to a different time schedule, it can be done. But whether it, whenever it's going to be linked with certain other elements like breakdown schedules and all, so that can't be done with Twinmotion. Howsoever, that has to be linked with Revit and further other solutions like Navisworks and all. So, Anupam Bajaj ji, the hardware configuration for the Twinmotion would be 32 GB RAM, i7, and would be 8 GB minimum graphic card required for it for a better working in terms of so that it should not hang. Srinathji, with respect to 3D DF and DWF files, we will let you know, and you can connect as soon as after this session with me one-on-one, so we can discuss that one-on-one. We are going to wrap up this session. Thank you everyone for being the part of this webinar. Thank you.